This is really, really tragic when your home becomes a danger zone. We've all just seen what happened to the village of Blatten with this massive glacier collapse / rock slide that has buried the whole village. Brienz actually had a landslide before Blatten in 2023 already, and the pictures are absolutely scary. The village was spared only by a few feet, but that is not all. The mountain is still coming down, but also the village is coming down. The village is getting down the slope. This is absolutely scary, and Blatten is evacuated again. Brienz is on the verge of change, and it's not for the better. It's actually frightening, guys. Very, very frightening. And people are now thinking to move away permanently because the danger in the village is too great, and the constant uncertainty is no longer bearable. And now, especially after they have seen what happened to Blatten. The situation in Brienz is so dangerous that the municipality is also increasingly preparing for a possible permanent move. That means abandoning the village. Of course, they say it would be premature to say right now they will completely abandon it, but it is something that we have to think about. Because right now, their life is within a temporary solution. They have been evacuated again just last year, and the population since then has been living in a state of emergency. Maybe we can compare this a little bit to the town of Grindavik in Iceland. Maybe you have seen that. They had to be evacuated because the volcano threatens to destroy the town and has destroyed it, with big cracks opening and one eruption even within the city limits. So let's talk about the danger and the rock slide. You see the pictures, absolutely frightening how much came down. It began really with a whisper in the rock. We can say that, guys. It was not a big warning or foreshock or something. Then came the cracks, and then the mountain moved. First centimeters, then meters per day. And it's deep in the heart of the Swiss Alps. It's a several centuries old village. It stood directly in the path of destruction of this mountain. And what happened then next was not just a landslide for Brienz. It was a modern alpine horror story that could have ended in tragedy. This is the story of Brienz, also called Brienz. It's the doomed village of Graubünden in Switzerland, and it's a place usually so picturesque and beautiful. It looks like it was carved from a postcard, like most of Switzerland, but it's so unstable, it was declared uninhabitable right now. So what began as a slow geological creep became a race against time for Brienz as one of the largest active, we have to say active, guys, landslides in Europe pushed science, emergency services, and human resilience to their absolute limits. I have reported about the first incident in 2023. But let's go back to spring 2023 so that we really understand how this happened and why this is so dangerous. And now that most of you probably, if you're watching my channel, you have Blatten in mind. You see the pictures, how this massive collapse comes towards the village with a roar, with a dust cloud like a volcanic eruption. I first said that looks like 9/11 coming down. Brienz is a little village. It's beneath the steep flanks of the mountain. It's called Piz-Linat. It's a tiny settlement, roughly 100 plus residents. But the problem is, this village wasn't built on firm ground. Instead, it sits on top of a massive creeping slope. So not is it only threatened from above, it already sits on something that could come down. So this creeping slope is part of a geological formation that is known to geologists as for its deep-seated instability. That doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound good at all. So some parts of the mountain were sliding as much as 1.5 meters per year, and higher up on the mountain, even 3 to 10 meters annually. And yeah, scientists had it on the map. They had been watching it for years. But then all over a sudden, guys, everything changed. By early May 2023, satellite and GPS monitoring began to show terrifying numbers. The upper slope, known as in der Stiva, began accelerating at 40 meters per day. 40 meters per day, that's like 150 feet. And that's not, I'm not getting this wrong, it's really that much. So 150 feet of rocks moving per day, pulled down towards by gravity and pressure from underground water. Water plays a big role here. It acts like a lubricant to bring everything down. That's why the authorities had no choice. On May 8th, 2024, the canton of Grisons, that's like a province in Switzerland, has declared the yellow phase, yellow alert, warning residents to prepare for a potential evacuation. And then the next day, the orange phase was declared and people were told to evacuate, thankfully. Because then on May 12th at exactly 6 p.m., the alarm went to red. The village was sealed off, roads and rail lines were closed, all residents were gone. Even in the church that they have there, a 500-year-old wooden altar was carried out by hand to be saved. Why? Because 1.2 cubic million meters of rock were about to fall, threatened to fall, and then it did. It happened. Unfortunately, on the night of June 15th to 16th, 2023, just before midnight, one of the largest rock falls in Swiss history occurred. The mountain came down in the dark. Massive chunks of Pitzlinard, boulders the size of buildings, crashed down towards the village of Brienz. It was a fast-moving, dry debris flow that roared towards the village with absolute frightening sound, and then it stopped miraculously just a few feet from the first homes. Not like in Blatten. Blatten was, we know. So we can really say here, thanks to the miracle of science and a little bit of luck, no one has died. Not a single house was destroyed. That was just pure luck. The rocks stopped short. When you see the pictures, it's mind-blowing. But still, the village was changed forever because Brienz had dodged death, that's for sure. Barely. So what was the reason for that lucky outcome? The Technical University, the ETH Zurich, they had a predictive modeling using Doppler radar, GPS data, and seismic sensors, and scientists had created a high-resolution simulation of the slope's movement and collapse zones. Now you might say, well, why didn't that work for Blatten? Because a glacier collapse. First, the rocks fall on the glacier, and that makes the glacier come down, mixing all the rocks with the glacier. That has never happened before. And they calculated the evacuation zone too small, unfortunately, so that one shepherd that was on the slopes outside of the evacuation zone was lost. But here, their models predicted the runout would stop just before the village, and it did. But danger still loomed. By June 26th, 2023, the situation did stabilize enough to lower the alert level, and people were allowed back into their homes during the day. On July 3rd, the same year, the full evacuation order was lifted and the alert was dropped to yellow. I had reported about this, so we thought, yeah, it has come down, spared the village, all good. No one believed that the danger was over. Everyone knew more mountain was coming. In April 2024, they began a new stabilization project to try to keep the mountain from coming down. Engineers have drilled over 90 boreholes, each 100 meters deep, to drain water from the slope, the lubricant that loosens the rocks. So they had really built a major tunnel. Major project was launched to relieve the pressure. Cost 40 million Swiss francs, mostly funded by the state and the federal government. The goal was to prevent another collapse like 2023. Now you might say, that much money for such a small village, why don't they just give it up? As we've seen in Blatten and in many other places, well, you want to give up your whole country? Because it is a mountain country. And also, despite their project, nature had other plans for them. By June 28th in 2024, new movement was detected 10 centimeters per day. And after the autumn rains, it has worsened because more water was there again. So by October, the slope sensors recorded 35 centimeters per day. So a second collapse seemed imminent. So on November 9th, 2024, the yellow phase for the residents of Brienz returned. Just 3 days later then, on November 12th, Brienz entered the orange phase again, and the second full evacuation was ordered. Deadline November 17th, 1 p.m. Everyone needed to get out. This time, residents already felt it. That evacuation felt more final. People took everything that was mobile from their homes. And also, as I mentioned, the village priest removed the altar. All livestock was taken out. No one expected to return. Maybe at that time they thought the village, with the next slide, it's going to be gone. Then authorities declared the red phase again, means no access at all. So the village became a ghost town. Geologists warned that another 1.2 million cubic meters of rock was still unstable and could fall at any time. And they probably wouldn't be that lucky again this time. Chances of survival might not be so high. And again, they didn't know about Blatten by then. In December 2024, they were still evacuated. The government acknowledged the reality. Brienz may not survive. So they introduced a funding program, like 90% of relocation costs would be paid for families that choose to move permanently. And the idea of returning had gone from difficult to almost unthinkable. And yet, hope flickered once again in May 2025. Blatten had not happened yet. So after a long, quiet winter, the danger level dropped back again to orange. Weekend visits were allowed under strict controls and only during daytime, during light outside. So you could see some residents walking the streets of Brienz again. But of course, it wasn't the same. Not at all. The place felt more like a memorial than a village. And now, where do things stand now? Geologists are monitoring the slope with cutting-edge technology, and I'm sure they have learned from the Blatten landslide. So the entire upper mountain block called In der Stiva is still active. The drainage tunnels are still being built. The slope is still unstable. And Brienz, technically, it still exists, but no one lives there permanently right now. And we have to make clear, this disaster didn't happen overnight. It was decades in the making. The slope that Brienz was built on has been creeping for hundreds of years. There was a historic landslide in 1878. It has moved 4 meters per day for 18 months before stopping again, just 100 meters from the village. So the danger has always been there. People lived with it. But now there was a lot of intense rainfall, melting snow, deeper soil saturation. So everything in the Alps has become more dangerous right now, it seems. And they say what happened in Brienz could happen again to Brienz. And of course, what happened to Blatten could happen again elsewhere. And it could happen soon. That's what they're saying. When people were allowed back in their homes, they didn't feel comfortable. They said it felt like a haunted house. When they got back into their homes just a few weeks ago, many residents noticed cracks in the walls of the homes, cracks that they had prior noticed were getting bigger. The heating systems didn't work again. So it seems the instability of the ground was also showing in the buildings. they have no idea how long the evacuation order will stay in place for Brienz. It's a lot of uncertainty. It's unsure what the rain and the snow melt, what impact they will have. The rock masses have not yet come down, but it could accelerate if there's more rainfall. Staying in the village, and that's what they're making clear, is life-threatening. Interestingly, just a few days before the landslide, this massive catastrophe happened in Blatten, there was an interview with an expert saying, what is the difference between Blatten and Brienz? Because at that time they already knew, I've reported about that there is an instability in Blatten. So they said, Brienz is a very large landslide. It consists of various types of slope instabilities, and these have been active since the last 13,000 years, so basically since the last ice age. So the people who live there have known for several hundred years that there is a problem. And geologists also have been studying Brienz since the 19th century. And they pointed out that this is a big difference to the nest horn above Blatten. And because they say it's probably only been known for a few days that there is a significant instability. And boy, did that thing come down. The landscape overall, what they're saying, the surface is in Brienz much flatter than in the Lötschental in Blatten. Thankfully, Blatten had been evacuated, fully evacuated, over 300 residents when they saw the cracks in the mountain. If you want to know what happened in Blatten, check out my Blatten playlist and binge watch it. It's mind-blowing. So for Brienz, will we see Brienz destroyed in the near future like Blatten? Will this massive amount of rock roll over the villages? Chances are high. It has been spared quite a few times, but eventually probably it will be destroyed. Maybe they're lucky again, that would be a miracle. If everything has come down, but there's still the ground instability underneath Brienz, right? So it's frustrating. It's frustrating. I think many residents, since they've been living outside of the village for quite a while, they probably will remain there. But it's still heartbreaking now that they have the pictures of Blatten in mind, that this could happen to your home. The only good thing is that maybe they have a little bit of emotional distance to the home since they've been out there for a while and have more time to process what might really happen. But these homes are in families, most of them for generations. Grandma, great-great-grandma maybe built the home. It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. But for the residents of Blatten, it came like a sudden shock. Within 40 seconds, everything was over, guys. So we'll watch it. I'll watch it for you. My channel's name is I'm on the Pulse, but I guess I'm on the slide. You're on the slide with Silky, guys. Check out the videos in the end screen. A lot of things are happening, and I hope you stay safe wherever you are. Be always aware of your surroundings. I mean, Mother Nature's crazy, but men are equally as crazy if we see what's happening around the world right now. Are we all insane? For that a little amount of time that we're allowed to spend on this planet, is this fighting really necessary, or could we just live in peace, live out our time, and instead of, you know what's happening? I just even, it's pure insanity to me, guys. So really, wherever you are, I hope you're safe and you remain safe, and that I see you again on this channel, guys. Leave it a like. If you want to support the channel, buy me a coffee, link is in the description, or become a supporting monthly member of the channel. Link is also in the description. And thank you for the supers here. Welcome to all my new members on the coffee site and here on the channel. You guys are awesome. And yeah, for the coffee, guys, I can send you a video message if you buy me a coffee. And for my channel members, new videos are coming out very soon. Lots is happening behind the scenes. And yeah, until then, bye-bye.